Hey HBs, welcome back to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends share our love of romance novels to stay connected with each other. I just want to say a huge thanks to all of our patrons. The Patreon family is amazing, especially you newbies. We've got at least 35 bonus episodes waiting for you, along with stickers, videos, and some behind-the-scenes text conversations. Don't forget, all new and increased pledges in June and July are getting doubled and donated to the Yellowhammer Fund. So feel free to support ladies in two ways by signing up. And I honestly can't wait. We're going to dive straight into this episode because we're doing one of Erin's favorite and foundational books, Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris. Get ready to listen to Erin twist herself in knots about loving everything she's already been on record for hating in the past. Ooh, here we go. Oh, hey, Erin.
Hello, Melody.
Hi, Erin. I saw that hair flip. Oh!
I got a haircut.
Whoa. Yeah, you did. Are you feeling new and fresh and free?
I am. I'm feeling really light and kind of sporty. I feel like it's a little bit sporty.
It is.
Feels good. It's a post-army haircut.
It is. Bye, Army.
Bye.
Eee.
No more army.
Man, our conversation about whether or not you should get this bob was one of the funniest things I've ever been a part of, frankly.
Really? I don't even remember it. What did I do?
Well, first of all, I said, when you said, well, I look like a mommy blogger, though, I said, no, hot attorney at sex. And then
attorney at sex.
And then you said, I don't want to look like I live in Alabama and I'm a warrior for my daughter Tinley. And I said, make so many courtroom statements. And then you said, I don't want to look like I live in Utah and I have a side business selling LuLaRoe. And I said, never. Look like TV lawyer, attorney at arousal, attorney at dadass. And then you said, I don't want to look like I have a dream board with pictures I cut out of Real Simple magazine. And then I said, not even close. Asymmetrical screams, I read law books while my hot husband goes down on me. And then you said,
no.
and then I said, Bob.
And then we didn't talk for 3 days.
And then we haven't talked since. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that conversation, but now I'm very worried that I've offended an HB in Utah, an HB in Alabama with a daughter named Tinley, who she's a warrior for, and somebody who works at Real Simple magazine editor, HB. I'm sorry. What I was trying to convey was I didn't want to look like a basic mom. There's nothing wrong with being a basic mom, you guys.
Yeah, especially since I just talked to you before I got my haircut. I talked to you about getting the same haircut. And I was like, but I have 2 kids in tow, so I'm going to look like a mommy blogger.
Yeah, but you are a mom. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You like looking like a mom. You like taking pictures of pumping milk while in a bridesmaid's dress. That's the most mom you can look.
Really? I thought I looked really glamorous and very come
You did.
hither.
But non-moms can't pump milk out of their boobs. And that was kind of a feature of the photograph.
Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So the new haircut, you feeling fancy and free?
No, well, I am in a way, but the air quality in Anchorage is still unhealthy level. It's orange.
I will say, you
occasionally
look
red.
Very pretty.
I look better than I did.
You do.
Everyone who's seen me multiple times over the past few weeks have been like, oh, Erin, you're totally back to normal. And then every new person I see is like, what's wrong?
Oh, no.
Whatever day I got my haircut, I think it was Friday, David, we woke up and my eyes were, of course, glued shut. And I had to, do a warm compress to get them to open.
Yeah.
And then David was like, you look totally back to normal. You look so pretty and you're normal now. And then I went to the hairdresser and she was like, oh, God, your face is so swollen and horrible looking.
Listen, that haircut can take several seats. Love her, but no.
Yeah, she's great.
I do remember that text, too, because you said, Melody, he can't even remember when I looked pretty.
I know. He can't remember what I looked like before.
Oh, boy. It's okay. You can read now. And that's why we are capable of doing the first half of Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris. Woot, woot.
Woot, woot. In some ways, I've waited my whole life for this podcast.
It's so true.
Honestly, like, when we started this 2 to 3 years ago, I was like, that's the first book we're going to read is Sookie Stackhouse #1. And then it took us 3 years to get here because we took
Erin,
recommendations like fools.
Erin, we're not even 2 years in. So.
What? I thought we were 2.5 years in.
No, we haven't had our second anniversary yet.
God, it feels like so fucking long. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, you know those people who have like 10-year wedding anniversaries and they're like, it feels like yesterday. It does not feel like yesterday. It feels like we've been doing this forever. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's 1.5 years in the making.
That's right.
Sookie. I'm so excited.
Sookie is mine.
You texted me this week and you said that you were bored by this book, which I am fucking flabbergasted by because I love every bit of Sookie Stackhouse.
I have a weird thing involving my Swiss cheese memory. Okay.
Yes.
Here's the problem. We watched True Blood. I think I watched it for the first time in my college apartment with my college roommates, one of whom is a listener. Hey, Victoria, if you're listening. And then Victoria had all the True Blood books, or most of them. And so she let me read them while we lived together. And that was great. But then since then, or maybe the show hadn't even come out yet, doesn't matter. I read the books forever ago. And I don't even think I read all of them. And then I was introduced to the show and I fell so in love with the show that I have probably watched it at least 3 times through. And so in my brain, the show is canon and the books, like anytime they deviated from the show plot, I was like, Charlaine, That's not what happens. That's just not what happens. You know what I mean?
But they don't very much. It's very similar.
At least, at the beginning, it's very, very similar. But like the fact that Maudette is described as like
dumpy and
slow and, slow in quotation marks and like whatever else. I'm just like, that's not true. In the show, she was the one who liked it really rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the book, that's Dawn. And so, a bunch of other things that I'm just like, oh, I really like that detail that happened from the show. Oh
my God.
I missed the fact that Sookie didn't stumble over herself and like giggle about the fact that she had to invite Bill in. You know what I mean? Because in the book, she just knows. And so she's like, oh, will you please come in? And in the show, it's this, I think I remember it being this very cute moment of her being like, oh, I have to invite you in because you're not human.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So shit like that. So I was reading the books and you know what? Honestly, the other thing is I'm going to just put it out there, you guys. I've been fighting off a depressive spell for about 5 weeks now. And I'm just not able to fight it anymore. And so I'm just, nothing is okay.
I'm sorry.
So but you know what I mean? Like reading the book, I have to tell everybody not much is making me very happy right now, including, I liked it, but I was never like, ooh, I got to finish it. It's taken me 2 weeks. I was really relieved when you couldn't I was relieved when you couldn't record last week. Because I was like, oh, good.
No, you were right. I couldn't read.
Yeah.
It's depressing. My eyes weren't working.
No, they were not working. That's right. So anyway, I mean, I really liked it, but I am not at your like level of devotion.
Well, if you notice when you texted me that, I didn't text you back. I just didn't text you back.
I noticed. So tell me all about your love. Tell me everything.
Okay, my idea in reading this book. So we've read we've read now like 4 or so old school style romances. And I feel like a few of them, well, let's take, for example, Tanya, right? Like she had us read A Knight in Shining Armor. And when we hated it, she was like personally like, oh no, this was my favorite romance book. And a few others have been like, oh, you should read this. Like, we've gotten recommendations from like older books, and then we read them and trashed them, and people are like, that's the book I grew up on, or that's my favorite book. Like, we got a particularly like passive aggressive comment on one of our Susan Elizabeth Phillip episodes. Where this woman was just like, thanks for ruining my favorite book. Like, yeah. Ooh. So we've had a few like your faves are problematic episodes where it's other people's faves. And I thought I should maybe inject probably something that's problematic and was my favorite series, which is this series. Because this book was written in 2001. So we've read myriad books from like the early 2000s that have had very problematic stuff in them that we've just like trashed. So I'm like, I'm sure it's all over Sookie. There's got to be horrible things in there. And I read it, and I identified things that maybe could be problematic. However,
you still can't see it.
I love it. I couldn't see it because it's like every time Sookie does like a slut shame or like kind of a racial, it's through the eyes of like, she's just such a positive voice, and she's when she talks about how pitiful and lumpy Maudette is, it's like a bless her heart sort of thing. It's like, oh, she's pitiful and lumpy, like, gosh, I wish she would have had a better life before she died, or like, it's so wholesome that I couldn't. I'm sorry, guys. I tried to hate on a book I love, but I couldn't do it. Sorry, I love it so much.
You know what I will say is that at the very least, she is an equal opportunity slut shamer. On the one hand, she'll be like, I'm not a slut. And then she'll be like, my brother's a terrible person. Also, big slut. Yeah. Like, she's very much like...
Well, and she doesn't think people are bad people because they're sluts. It seems like Sookie is a very do whatever you want to do sort of person. Yeah. But she does point everything out about everyone. If that makes sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's true.
She's not like, Dawn's a slut, and so she's a bad person, she's going to hell. She's just like, Dawn's a bit of a slut. Anyway.
Well, yeah,
I did 2 shifts at the
yeah, Dawn's a bit of a slut. We didn't get along.
Oh, God.
And, like, that's about it.
I don't remember what, like, I know before in books I've been like, why do I have to fucking know that you had to, like, go to the store and get tissues and, like, you worked 2 shifts and, like, you had to wear this shiny pair of shoes today. I love every bit of it when Sookie does it. I love it. I love picking out her shoes. I love her shitty outfits. I love her Tweety Bird shirt. I love her.
Oh,
love her. And honestly, since I read this in 2008, probably 9, I have thought back on it and thought those books were not well written. And it's because later in the series, Charlaine Harris, bless her heart, is writing 5 different series. She's writing like a book a month. She's churning them out and she's forgetting things about her own characters. And that was upsetting me late in the series. I never read the last book. I like to say it's because it was getting so bad that I didn't appreciate it anymore. Really, I just never want to be done with it.
I did
and
that
then
too.
when I went back and I read this book, and it's very well written. I very much enjoyed the writing. So I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
You're going to have to trash it if you want to, because I can't do it. So
I don't know. I'm a bit of a follower. That's not true. I just find a lot of times I find other people's enthusiasm infectious.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I love about recording the podcast is just that I am going to feel better after it, no matter what my mood is before.
Yeah, same.
Okay. So
wait, I do want to say this.
Sure.
This was one of the first romance novels I read. I was reading another contemporary author before that. That was the first author I discovered. And I thought that she was the only writer of sex books. We talked about this in episode 1. I was like, have you guys heard of this one author who writes sex books? And I was going around to everybody because I didn't realize it was a genre. I thought it was just one author. And then I had a college friend, the same college friend who wants to push those boys off that yacht.
That's right.
She was reading Laurel K. Hamilton. And I was like, what are you reading there? And she's like, oh, it's like a vampire porn sex werewolf book. And I was like, huh? And so I tried Laurel K. Hamilton, and she is not for me. Sorry for your diehards out there. And then I told our friend, I was like, it's just too serious. Like, I really liked this contemporary author because it was very like frothy and like romantic comedy like, and it was too dark for me. And she was like, oh, then you should try these. And so really this is the 3rd romance author, maybe like the 5th romance book I ever read. So I think that contributes to my diehard fandom.
Okay, so here are 2 things. First of all, I don't know that I would necessarily call this a sex book. Second of all,
it's not.
No. So bless your heart on that one. Second of all,
it was more of a sex book than I had read before.
Fair. No, I do find it hilarious that this is one of your great loves because it's all vampires.
Yes.
Like, it's way later that she starts getting into the shifterness.
But I didn't know.
Yeah,
like,
fair.
This is Bill Kwanten is my first sexy monster.
Ooh.
You know, like, your first is never the best. Like, you know, like later I discovered I had different
options.
Options, yeah. Different monsters to lust over.
Fair. Okay, so one thing that I do like about Sookie is that she just calls them like she sees them. And I think that really contributes to her voice and the way that you're like, I don't find it negative. I think she's just saying true things out loud.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because on page 2, she's like, you can tell I don't get out much. And it's not because I'm not pretty. I am. I'm blonde and blue-eyed and 25, and my legs are strong, and my bosom is substantial, and I have a waspy waistline. Like, she's very just like, no, I'm hot, you guys. It's fine.
But also very humble. Like, yes. I don't know how she pulls it off. I just love Sookie. Like, she just says the truth, and she's not judgy of anyone else, and she's not judgy of herself, and she's not boastful either. She's like, this is just how it is.
That's right. Yeah. So she had been waiting for the vampire to walk into the bar for years. Ever since they came out of the coffin, you guys.
So here's the deal. Here's the world we're living in right now.
Uh-huh.
We're in Bontemps, Louisiana.
Bontemps.
It's a small town.
There's no S.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Erin.
All right,
you saying it like you read it forever ago?
Uh-huh.
Bontemps.
Bontemps.
Blair and Haley just like shivered, like full body shivered.
Who did?
Blair and Haley, the 2 Louisianans.
Well, fuck you. I lived in Louisiana for 4 years. Shut up. You always talk about how New Orleans is your favorite city, like you've been there for more than a week. No, shut it down.
I was there for 4 days, and it was one of the best things ever.
4 years. I can call it Tomps if I want. So, I say mooses, I say bears, I say Tomps. Okay.
Bears isn't the way you say bears?
No, people use bear up here as a plural. Is that not?
Oh, I thought I just did that because I thought it was funny. I thought moose and bear was funny. Moose is not funny, but bear is funny.
Wait, saying
because bears.
I don't understand. Saying bear as a singular is funny for plural.
Yes, yeah. It's like I heard of bear.
I don't know. People say bear like, oh, there's a bunch of bear over there. I don't know. I don't know the plurals. I'm just saying, here's the thing is I put S's on all of it. I don't care. Okay. So, the vampires, they've revealed themselves to the world because there's a synthetic blood in Japan that they're making that the vampires can drink, and so they don't have to kill humans anymore. So now everybody knows about vampires. Yeah. And they've said that they have like a virus and that's how they're vampires and they're not eating people anymore. And now the very first one has come to this small town and he's sitting in the bar Merlotte's where Sookie works. Okay.
Eee!
And she's psyched because she's never seen a vampire before.
Also, Sookie, while hot, says, but I have a disability. That's how I try to think of it. And she, like most people think she's crazy, but it's that she can read minds, guys. She's a telepath.
She's a telepath. And she's always been able to, and it made her have a real hard childhood, and everybody in the town thinks she's a dumb, idiot, crazy person because she's always saying crazy stuff. But it's really because she just has all these voices in her head.
Yeah, and she can't hook up with dudes because she's always hearing about what they think and their private thoughts of when they're touching up on her or not touching up on her or thinking about hitting on her. Or like she'll remember something that she heard a month and a half ago that was vile, and they're like, "Hey, so Sookie, dinner and a movie?" And she's like, "Ugh, no." So, you know, her love life is pretty scant.
She's got the big V, guys. We've got a virgin. Sucks, but that's okay.
No, I'm totally fine with it in this case.
You're fine with Sookie the virgin because it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It makes total sense.
Well, I don't know. Bill does a little bit of like, so I'm your first sort of stuff.
Oh, no, I hated that. I super hated that. But it also didn't go too far.
Yeah, he didn't say like, it wasn't, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, but it wasn't gross. It was just like more that he was honored that she chose him to be her first. I mean, that's just how I read it because I love Bill Kwanten.
See, and the hilarious thing to me is that I love Eric because I do not picture Book Eric when I picture Eric.
Oh, God, Book Eric.
I forget what Book Eric looks like in most times, but sometimes he's like wearing, I don't know, lycra or something crazy. He's wearing like lime green.
He's always wearing like mesh tube tops and shit. Like, I remember there's this part in book 2 where they show up at the main ad, like where there's the orgies happening, and he's wearing like a neon mesh. There's a vampire, and this is... Listen, Charlaine Harris fucking loves mesh, nylon, lycra, a lot of bodysuits, chainmail. Yeah, and it's
Yep.
All right. Okay, so she goes over to wait on the vampire, and she discovers that she cannot read his mind. And when she's around him in his presence, it just feels like cool, calm, like a river over smooth stones.
It's like a blissful oasis for her mind.
In her life that her brain can calm down.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So he orders a True Blood. They don't have any yet because they're a small town bar. So she gives him some red wine instead so he can just like sit there and not drink it, but like enjoy the company of
strangers.
Humans. Yeah.
I don't know why he's there.
But after a while, she notices that the rat rays are over talking to him. The rat rays are gross. They're gross people. And she knows that they've been to prison, and...
She calls them the rats.
Yeah, the rats.
Also, I pronounced it rat trays in my mind. I don't know why.
So did I, but they said rat ray in the show, and I knew you were gonna say some shit to me because I'm pronouncing the T wrong.
I wasn't gonna do that. I was just saying... I don't know.
Listen, I did not get an A+ in the New Jersey School of Pronunciation with Professor Melody, so.
Okay, so they're chatting him up, and she's like, "Oh no, I know bad things about them. I don't like this at all."
So she goes over to the table, and she realizes that the rat rays have been in jail specifically for vampire draining. And then, like, later in the night, she looks over and, like, they're all gone. So she's like, oh, shit, they're probably draining that poor vampire out somewhere. So she goes to Sam, who's her boss. Sam is, like, kind of sexy, but, like, not. He's like average sexy.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's always described as, like, fine.
Yeah, and his kisses feel real nice, but they don't, like, take you out of your body or anything. And in her mind... He's also, like, partitioned off under the moniker boss. Like, there's nothing that she's going to do with that.
Right.
So, you know. Anyway, the very first night she goes out and saves him, right?
Right. So I was kind of flipping through the pages here. We meet all the other characters at the bar. Her friend Arlene with the red hair. She works there.
Renee Lanier.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Arlene's ex-husband.
Who is not her boyfriend in the book, but he is in the show.
Right.
In the book, he's her ex-husband. And, like, just Jason, her brother, who's, like, doing up this lady named Deanne. Like, there's all the people in the bar.
Dawn is there.
Yes. But the important thing is that she leaves the bar and finds these rat rays draining Bill. the vampire, and he's got like silver all over him, and silver is like a thing that they don't like.
Well, and before that, she went out and grabbed Jason's chain out of the back of his truck.
Oh, yeah.
Like his really
she got that
heavy chain. And so she's like swinging it around, being like, get the fuck away from him or whatever. And the Rattrays are both like, oh, yeah, lady, we'll take care of you real quick. I could write this show, you know?
Yeah. So she saves him. And then they have like a nice little conversation.
Well, wait. Let's not put down the cinematic fight scene that happens right here.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. She pops the lady, I think, and the lady like, you know, goes off to the side, and then the guy comes at her, and she like throws the chain at him, and it wraps around his neck or something crazy. And then somebody grabs a knife. And then she grabs that and is brandishing it.
Oh, yeah, he did. He came at her with a knife. I forgot about that.
He came at her with a knife. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And then after the chain goes around his neck, the lady comes over and, like, grabs him and drags him to their car. And then they both try to hit Bill and Sookie with their car. And she has to, like, drag him out of the way. And it's, like, a whole thing. It's bonkers town. And then as she's sitting there with Bill, he's like, aren't you worried that you're sitting here with like a vampire who's weak and needs blood? And so she just wraps the silver chain around all of her body parts. She's like, nope.
Yeah, but she's just like, nope. She's not afraid at all. She's like, she's simple. And she's like, you haven't given me any reason to be afraid of you. You've never done anything to make me scared of you. And until then, I'm not going to be scared of you. It's great. He's like, oh, vampires are scary and they're sometimes violent and stuff. And she's like, humans are violent. Humans kill other people too.
All the time.
It's good stuff.
All the damn time.
So the reason why the Rattrays are draining vampire blood is like it's valuable and it helps people cure illnesses and stuff. In the show, it's like a drug, like a street drug. But in the book, they don't really play that up very much. So he kind of like offers her like, hey, you know, you saved me. You want some of my blood? You could like sell it or like use it to like be more like, healthier. No. And she's like, that's gross. I don't want your blood. I'm going to sell your blood on the black market. That's gross.
Oh, also, it's very, very important. I don't know if it's important for this book. It's important for like the series going on at the very least. He's like, you're different during this thing. What are you?
Yeah, he's like, what are you?
What are you?
What are you? I had to say, I love the show True Blood. Like, you know how much.
Yeah.
And I even believe that the show is an improvement on the books. But it does suffer from casting nary an American actor to do these Louisiana accents. And boy, are they rough. Like, real bad. Like,
very, very rough.
What are you? Like, the R's are so hard. They're trying so hard.
Well, especially when they're trying to be vampire and Louisiana Southern. Like, it's God, rough.
Yeah. It's like, there's like zero American actors in this show. Actually, the actor that plays Renee is, whose name I can't remember right now. It's hyphenated, and Cole were here, he would know. But anyway, he's American, but like everybody else, Sookie, Bill, Jason, Pam, Eric. Well, Eric kind of makes sense because he's Swedish, but like everyone is trying to do a Louisiana accent coming from like Australian or something, and it's rough. Anyway.
Oh, well, so she's
what
like,
are you?
I'm Sookie Stackhouse, and I'm a waitress.
She's like, I'm a waitress.
I'm a waitress. Yep.
Okay. So then she comes home, and it's time to meet Sookie's grandmother, Adele. For a short but wonderful period of time, we get to know Adele, the grandmother.
You know what? Every time she comes on the screen in the book, I can't help but hear Adele's theme from the show.
The music in the show is so good. Isn't it so good?
Yes, it's devastating, honestly. Jeez, it's used so well. Okay.
All right, so she says, guess what happened tonight? And like, this grandmother wants Sookie to get laid so badly.
She's so into it.
She's like, what? Do you get a date? You get laid? What's going on? And she's like, no, I met a vampire. And like, her question is
like,
so...
what? You get a date? You get laid? What's going on?
Did you date the vampire? No. She goes, did he have fangs? Which I think is the most... I love her so much.
So cute. Oh.
So she's excited.
Oh, and fun fact... In this, she's reading a romance novel. In the show, she's reading Dead Until Dark, sitting on the bed.
Yeah, I remember
It's
that.
a nice little Easter egg. Anyway, sorry.
Is this where she asks if she thinks he would remember the war, or is that later?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it's right here.
Maybe it's the next day. I don't know. But at one point, the grandmother, Adele, is like, do you think that this vampire is old enough that he would remember the Civil War? And Sookie's like, I don't know. And so she wants him to come speak at her at her history club, which is called Descendants of the Glorious Dead. The part of my 4 years living in the South was getting used to how they glorify the Civil War and call it things like the War of Northern Aggression.
Problematic.
There are monuments and stuff that say the War of Northern Aggression.
Problematic.
Yeah, but Sookie recognizes it as problematic. She's like, I get it, but they like to get together and do their history things. So, whatever.
Yep.
When she tells Bill that they're called the Descendants of the Glorious Dead, he's clearly offended, and she clearly understands why. She's like, yeah, true. I understand.
That's true.
But
actually,
they're harmless. They just want to remember their ancestors.
Yep. All those ancestors fighting over states' rights. States' rights. That's all it was, Erin. That's all they were trying to protect. States' rights. Okay. No, but I will say, I'm sorry, we're wrong. She doesn't talk about it here. It doesn't matter because all we miss in between these two conversations is Sookie brushing her teeth and washing her makeup off her face, slapping on some moisturizer, taking the band out of her hair.
Yes.
She crawled into her favorite Mickey Mouse sleep shirt. Which comes almost all the way to her knees. I hate it,
but I love it. The Mickey Mouse sleep shirt.
She turned onto her side like she always does.
She loves turning on her side. She
relishes the silence of the room.
Yes. Listen, normally I would hate it.
You would hate it.
I would hate it. But I love everything Sookie Stackhouse does. I love her shitty outfits. I love her Mickey Mouse t-shirts. I think in an early episode of this podcast, we talked about how she loses her V while wearing a Tweety Bird t-shirt.
Tweety Bird t-shirt.
And no bottoms. Anyways.
Okay, anyway.
So next day, she goes out. She goes tanning. She wears a bikini. Sookie loves tanning. Loves it. Loves wearing her bikini. Loves laying out in the metal lawn chair.
That's right.
Loves it.
She's really excited to note that her bikini fits a little bit looser than it did last summer.
Psyched.
So.
Yep. I understand. She's proud to be thin, and I don't care. Love her.
Jason shows up.
Yes.
And she's always
it's just a lot of nothing.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing. They need to go in because their grandmother has cooked country fried steak and sweet potatoes.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
So
it's world building. It's building the atmosphere of this small southern town, and
you're such a hypocrite, and I love it.
I can't. I'm sorry.
So anyway, Jason's like, "Hey, what the fuck happened with the rat race? I heard about it around the grapevine, and I should have heard it from you because I was at the bar last night."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh no, not a big deal." And she was like, "I just had to defend myself, and he took your chain." And she goes, "This was all true, if a little skewed."
Right. In the show, Jason is much more racist at vampires. In the book, he's just more like, now we've got a vampire.
Yeah, but I will say...
He's super racist at vampires.
That's true. Yes. I will say, though, that in the show, he's, sweeter and dumber. And in the book, he's a tiny bit more mean-spirited generally.
Oh, yes. Yes, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Towards Sookie, 100%.
Yes.
I felt like in the book, there was some... In the book, they would try to say that she was close to her brother, but there wasn't a lot of show. Yeah. You don't love Jason in the book in the same way that you do in the show.
I love Jason in the show.
Have you seen those pictures of him doing yoga?
No.
IRL? Oh my God.
Okay.
He does some yoga in real life, and it's insane. I'll send those.
It's
send those right over.
It's gotta be. Okay, sorry. So basically that doesn't matter either. But to get back to Gran's thing, she's like, well, I want him to come speak at the Descendants of the Glorious Dead.
Right.
And she's like, well, I guess I could ask Bill if he would come do that. And Gran's like, okay, well, if not, like maybe I could just have a conversation with him and tape his recollections and then show that to the club.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay. And she promises her that she'll at least ask him.
Right.
And while Jason is over, Jason brings the gossip about Maudette Pickens.
Yes, you guys, Maudette Pickens, who we've never met, never heard of before, got murdered in her apartment last night.
Yeah.
And they love this small town gossip like you wouldn't believe. It's
Sookie
like
does
somebody
not.
who
I find it hilarious.
They've met like a couple of times. They're like, what? Murdered?
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it says Gran and I were riveted.
Right. Okay, may I read the description of Maudette so that these HBs can decide on their own?
Please.
Because
I find it problematic.
I just don't feel like it's mean-spirited. Because
sure, that doesn't mean it's not problematic.
Okay, I remembered Maudette clearly. Maudette had a heavy jaw and a square bottom, pretty black hair, and husky shoulders. Maudette had been a plotter, never bright or ambitious. I thought I recalled her working at the Grab It Quick, a gas station convenience store. There's more, though.
Oh, don't worry.
Do you have it?
Well, I have one part. She goes, Maudette was a fangbanger? I felt queasy. Yep. Imagining slow, chunky Maudette draped in exotic black dresses, fangbangers affected.
Here is what I think she means. Is that I think she's just thinking about how desperate that portrait seems and kind of feeling bad for her. That she would like go dress up in some like slinky goth outfit and like throw herself at some vampires in Shreveport, knowing the kind of person she was makes Sookie feel sad for her situation in life. That's what I think.
Those
That's
are
what
some
I think.
rose-colored glasses. Because what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, is Sookie Stackhouse going, ooh, satin doesn't drape well over blah, blah, blah.
No, Sookie would never say anything like that.
I'm sorry, Sookie just said that her bikini fit a little bit looser than last summer, and she was, quote,
just facts.
pleased
They're just
as
facts.
punch. No, and she was pleased as punch. So, I'm not saying Erin, but I'm definitely saying. I'm not saying it's mean-spirited. Saying it's problematic.
Well, sometimes we think things in our heads that we're not proud of, and
listen,
Sookie
all the time.
sometimes thinks things that are, that she's not proud of, and that's one of them. And if she could take it back, she probably would. Listen, okay, so Maudette, she got strangled, but they found vampire bites on her. So they're wondering if maybe she got vampire murdered because of her reckless lifestyle going to the Fangbanger bar in Shreveport.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Jason banged her. Because he has sex with
everyone.
Yes.
Oh, and then Sam talks to her. Next time she goes into the restaurant, Sam talks to her and he's like, he like hustles her into the back room.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, what's going on with the thing? And
he's very concerned about the vampire situation. He doesn't want Sookie to get caught up with a vampire. And he invites her. Sam knows that she can read minds. Everybody kind of knows.
Yeah.
Some people will like admit out loud that they believe that it's true, but everyone kind of like knows that's the deal with Sookie. So Sam says to Sookie, you should read my mind sometime.
Ew.
Oh. Hey. And so she's like, okay, I'll read your mind, I guess. Because she never did it before because she's like, I don't want to read my boss's mind. She considers it an invasion of privacy. You guys, Sookie is a good person.
She is.
Like, if I could read minds, I would be reading all the minds all the time. Like, I would not consider it an invasion of privacy to read my boss's mind. I would do it all the fucking time. All the time. Constantly. All right. So here's her reading Sam's mind. I'd learned a couple of disconcerting things. Sam desired me, and I couldn't hear his thoughts as clearly as I could other people's. I'd had waves of impressions of how he was feeling, but not thoughts. More like wearing a mood ring than getting a fax.
I really like
how
that
she
metaphor.
Talks.
Yeah, or
I know.
simile,
I love how she talks. All right.
Yeah.
And then when she does that, she kind of is like, like she kind of feels like a little bit of desire for him.
Kinda, but it says like, but I didn't do anything about that information. No. Because
she did 0 things about it. She likes her job. She wants to keep it. Mm-hmm. She likes Sam okay, but it's not like she's like real into it or anything. So she just kind of tucks it away.
Well, and she goes, and sex for me is a disaster. Can you imagine how knowing everything about your sex partner is thinking? Right. Along the lines of, gosh, look at that mole. Her butt is a little big. Wish she'd moved to the right a little. Why doesn't she take a hint? And you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that would be, oof, I'd be out of there too. Bye.
She thinks, okay, so the next day is Maudette's funeral. Listen to this line. Poor lumpy Maudette with her bitten thighs was more interesting in death than she'd ever been in life because so many people go to her funeral because they're looky-loos. That is Sookie feeling very sympathetic about the Maudette situation.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not? Mm-hmm. I believe it is. And I'll move on.
You will die on this hill. Oof. I just have a hard time because she's always like, I know that she's probably saying true things, you know, but at the same time, Sookie's also the person who thinks to herself, everybody thinks that I'm dumb and or crazy and or whatever else. And she's always defending her character. And yet she turns around and does the same thing to Maudette without thinking twice about it. And it just makes me a little sad. I don't know. I mean, but that's unfair, right? Because we all have impressions of people. And it's hard to necessarily get an accurate impression, but it's also hard to divorce yourself from the impressions that you've gotten. So I'm not saying she's not human. I'm just saying that it makes me go, ooh. That's it.
I understand. All right.
Yeah.
So she's back working at the bar. Vampire comes in again, sits again at her table. She has another adorable conversation with him where he's like, what are you? She's like, I'm a waitress.
Yep.
So he gets the red wine again because they still don't have the True Bloods in. And then he
says that he's in your debt.
Yeah.
In her debt.
Yeah. Because she saved his life and all. And so she wants to talk to him about the Descendants of the Glorious Dead thing, but she doesn't want to do it while she's on shift. So she asks if he can meet her after her shift at 1:30. If he'll be up. Of course he'll be up because he's a vampire. So he's like, oh, yeah, it would be my pleasure.
Mm-hmm. I'd be delighted.
Delighted.
So she like does her whole, we watch her do her whole shift, you guys.
And I love it. Do you guys want to know what Renee ordered?
Oh, somebody tipped her 20%, Erin.
Yeah. Yep. She goes to the bathroom. She gets her purse. She checks her makeup a couple times.
Oh boy.
You know what's great is like when I'm reading this, I'm just so happy to be reading it again that I don't even notice, which is probably how like Tanya reads A Knight in Shining Armor, you know?
Sure. Yeah, completely. Okay, so then she
know.
walks outside, and don't worry, we get a full description of all of Sam's landscaping outside of his trailer.
Yes. So would you like to know what kind of hardwood floors it boasted? Sam had put a yard and planted boxwood in front of his trailer, and they were constantly teasing him about the neat line of his hedge. I thought it was pretty. As usual, Sam's truck was parked out front with his trailer, so my car was the only one left in the lot.
Oh, why?
Why, Sookie? Why?
So she goes out to her car. She feels something's a little off, but she doesn't know why. Plus, she's meeting Bill. So she's like, I don't know if he's going to like appear in a poof of smoke or like fly in as a bat or like do whatever. But then, out of nowhere, she gets clocked.
By the rat rays.
Yeah, Sam and Denise Rat Ray are there, and they are going to kick the living shit out of her. And they do. They kick, and they kick, and they kick. And it's really, I don't know, it's really well written. I really liked it.
Yeah. I like how they kick her a few times and she's like, okay, this is cool. And they'll just kick me a couple times. I get it. They're beating me up. And then it occurs to her, they're going to kill her.
Yeah, it says,
because they're not
but I
stopping.
remember the exact moment I realized they intended to kill me. I was just like, oh, shit.
And then she starts losing her shit and like grabbing the legs and biting them and doing all the stuff.
And then she hears a growl.
Grrr.
And she's like, oh no, they've brought a dog.
Yes.
And the growl was definitely hostile. Anyway,
Yes.
It's not a dog, you guys.
No, like 20-year-old Erin is like, a dog?
Erin.
Oh,
The monster has to save
could there
you.
be a werewolf sex book? No.
Hey, I don't know,
Anyway.
man.
No. Werewolf sex is impossible. This is just a vampire book. And then 20-year-old Erin went back into her reading. Okay,
If only you had known.
Yeah, so there's a dog, but there's also a vampire.
Ah!
So she's bleeding internally. There's a lot going on. Bill
Then Mac
runs her.
starts screaming. Denise starts screaming. There's a bunch of activity. She can't move because all of her things are broken. She took a very particular kick to the spine.
Yes.
And so then he comes to her side and
He runs her real fast, like Twilight style, into the woods.
into the bushes.
Yeah,
the
or
woods.
whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm dying. He's like, drink my blood. She's like, I don't want to be a vampire. Sookie Stackhouse would rather die than be a vampire, which I can get behind. And then he explains to her that it'll just make her healthy again. So she does. And then she wakes up and she's laying next to that vampire. And point of information. You know what Bill's doing when she wakes up?
Ooh.
Slurping on that head wound.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I love it. I love it for accuracy because, like, remember when we read A Shade of Vampire and she was just like bleeding all over the place and none of the vampires seemed to like give a shit or like want to lap it up at all? Yeah. I think it was like her feet were bleeding. Like she'd run through the forest and her feet were bleeding and he just like carefully wrapped her feet or something. And I was like, that's bullshit. They would be like, nom, 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 for blood. Yeah. So I kind of like that he's like lapping it up.
No,
I
liked
dog.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I could feel his tongue moving on my head. He was licking my head wound. I could hardly begrudge him. She asked if she tastes different than other people, and he's like, yes. What are you?
What are you?
So, is this when she answers him? Yes. So, she finally is like, I'm a telepath. I can read people's thoughts. And he's like, mine? Can you read my thoughts? Because that would be bad for me at this point in time.
Right.
And she says no. And it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, she says, that's why I like you so much.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, what about your love life then? And she's like, none
to speak of.
I don't do that.
Yeah. She asks if he murdered up those rat rays. He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She goes, are they dead? And he goes, oh, yes. Very dead. Which, like, is the first rite of passage for any monster-human relationship is monster must murder for you.
That's right.
At the very beginning of the relationship to really seal in the loyalty.
It's true.
Yes.
So then she's like, my grandmother is really anxious to know how old you are. Did you fight in the war? Burp, 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 burp. And he's like, yeah, I'll definitely. He says, would it make you happy
because it would make her happy.
This?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what difference would it make? It would make Gran happy. And he's like, no, would it make you happy? And then he says, yes, I'll do it.
Aww.
It's very cute.
First of all, that's just chapter 1. Second of all, this is the beginning of chapter 2. Oh, there's a whole, like, its own paragraph just to say that she slept late the next day. And when she got home, she didn't wake up Gran.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I forgot.
Erin.
All right. So the gossip the next day is that a tornado, a hopping tornado, touched down just at the rat race house. It threw around a bunch of trees, tipped over their trailer, and murdered up those rat rays. And everybody's like, what a freak event. Is a tornado just touched down in this one spot of Bon Temps and murdered those rat rays.
Yeah.
She goes over there to Google at it. And says hey to the cops. Nothing really happens there.
Yeah, we meet cops that don't actually matter very much.
No, they don't.
They matter a lot in the show, but not here.
Oh, but they do kind of matter a little bit because they ask about like, oh, didn't you get in a fight with the rat rays the other night? And she's like, how would that matter? Because a tornado killed him. Right. But they start asking her questions about like the vampire situation. She says they're draining the vampire. And that's when she finds out that Bill is living in the old Kwanten house, which is like right across the field from her house, which is important because
very
they live
important
in close proximity to each other, and they can just like walk across that field if they
cemetery.
Need to. Okay, so the next thing that happens, we go back to the bar. We just do her whole shift with her, and nothing happens except that a man grabs her butt, and Renee saves her from the man grabbing her butt, and we get a little conversation with Renee. We learn that he has a sister. And he wishes he could see her more often. Mm-hmm. And yeah,
Sookie, I guess, kind of reminds him of Cindy, his sister. But she's like, I don't know why. Other than we're both blonde and waitresses.
Yeah. All right. So then the next thing that happens is that Bill the vampire comes to call on Sookie.
Oh, wait. Can I? So she and Grant have been cleaning like crazy. And can I ask you about some phrasing that I had to highlight?
Okay.
It says, did vampires even need to use the bathroom? I wondered as I chugged the toilet brush around the bowl.
Yes, that's odd.
Thank you. What does that mean?
I don't know. I would think it would be like a forceful...
Like chugging like a train? Like a chugga.
Maybe.
Is it?
I don't know.
Because it's not drinking something quickly and for
God,
a prolonged
I hope not.
period of time, right? Chugging the toilet brush around the bowl. I don't know.
Chugging
if
it.
that's a Southern thing, you bitches let us know.
It's not. I was Southern for 4 years, and
okay.
I happen to know.
Yeah, it's not a Virginia thing. I'll tell you that much. But
all right. So Bill, the vampire, has come to call on her, and she wears like a little cute dress that's like blue and like some yellow earrings and like some little heels. And she pulls her hair up with a yellow banana
clip.
That is important. I will say one big difference between the show and the book is a huge addition in the show is the better character of Tara. There's a Tara in the book, but she doesn't really matter.
Yeah, true.
And the show Tara is huge addition because she has her own story. Tons of stuff go on with Tara.
I mean, she's also basically torture porn. Poor thing.
Right.
Oof.
Yeah, especially toward the end there. Don't even get me started. But, and also the inflation of the Lafayette character, who in the book is also a gay cook, or at least a cook that dresses effeminately, wears makeup, that sort of thing. But I think he's white in the book. Yep.
Thank you.
And he doesn't last long in the book. So I think it's really important that the show added, and I think Tara's white in the book too. I don't really remember, but she doesn't matter much. She just kind of owns a store in town and she's kind of around.
Judging from some phrasing we're going to get to later, yeah, this book is pretty whitewashed.
Yes. But listen, Sookie loves all people.
No,
and,
it's not.
It's not judgmental.
I don't think it's Sookie's phrasing.
She's
I'm
reading
just saying
other people's thoughts.
Yes.
And I think that those people's thoughts could be pretty accurate to what people in that town at that time may have been thinking that morning. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a problem with it. But also there's no way I would have a problem with it. So sorry. Okay. What were we talking about? Tara. Oh, because this scene was so great because in the show, Tara comes over when Bill comes over and she's like, did you own slaves? And it's like real in his face about the whole War of Northern Aggression situation, which we're missing from the book, which you really feel it when you watch the show and you go back and read the book. Mm-hmm. You feel the absence of especially those two perspectives in the show. Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to note that. Anyway, in the book, it's more just their date that they have and they
he's like sweeping the front porch because it's the only thing they haven't cleaned yet,
Yeah.
And he just sort of appears and she's like, she grins and she goes, didn't scare me. And
in the show, he does scare her.
Yes.
She like jumps. I remember that.
Yes. And then she automatically just says, come in, instead of being like silly human girl about it, which, you know, I missed.
Yeah.
Anyway, what?
So one thing that I love about the books is just like how jank and basic everyone is. And one of the things she says to Bill is, Bill, where did you get your shirt? It looks nice. He was wearing khaki Dockers and a green and brown striped golfing shirt, polished loafers, and thin brown socks. Like, ooh, isn't that what you want your vampire hero to wear? Rough. And then he says, Dillards.
Yep.
Dillards in Monroe. But like, there's such a charm to it. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, and her voice is really fun because she says, Gran plunged into questioning Bill. He answered her with courtesy and apparent goodwill. Okay, he was a polite dead man.
Mm-hmm.
And they do mention slavery, but it's very like, you know, did the family that lived here, it's Gran's husband's descendants, did they have slaves? And he's very upfront and he's like, I believe they had a house slave and a yard slave. And
it's rough.
It's a lot.
It's rough.
It's a lot. And then afterwards,
they go on their little walk.
They hand him some iced tea, and he says that he just presses his lips to the rim and then sets it down of his ritual iced tea. Yeah.
Right.
And then he's like, well, ma'am, if it's okay with you, it's a beautiful night. I think Sookie and I are going to go for a walk. And it says
it's like so sweet. Boys don't ask to go for walks. It's so sweet. I love him.
Erin's like blushing over there.
I love my gosh. Kwanten.
Meanwhile, like, you don't care about any dukes. You're like, oh my gosh, a duke let you use his first name. Like,
no, I don't understand that world. I don't get it. But I understand the world of a vampire.
What? It's the same kind of old-timey, Erin.
It's not charming when a duke does it because it's back in England times when he does it. That's like normal. It's charming when a vampire time travels to the future and wants to call on you. It's charming when a vampire calls on you and you're wearing your oversized Tweety Bird t-shirt. That's charming.
He fucks you anyway.
He fucks you anyway. Yep. But it's like back then, it's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it is. It's very charming. So they go out and they do a lot of walking around. Oh, when they see her cat, he's like, you like this animal?
Yes.
She goes, it's my cat. Her name's Tina, and I like her a lot. What?
In the book, Tina doesn't watch her masturbate, but in the show, Tina does.
Oh,
remember that?
Right. Tina's just looking at her with her
One of the things I love about Sookie is like she's so horny. In the book and the show, she's so horny, but like also like she cannot tolerate nasty talk or
she cannot.
Any nastiness. Like if her cat's watching her masturbate, she's like, "Stop! It's nasty. That's nasty.
Get out of here!"
Yeah, it's like you're
Tina
nasty
the cat.
too, Sookie. You're the one trying to rub one out on Bill's stairs.
Listen,
anyway,
don't worry about it. Tina the cat's gonna get hers.
Where it's like during the day and she's like so horny for Bill and she like goes over to his house and like starts like getting into her shorts on his like front porch.
Uh-huh.
She's horny.
Or anybody could drive up.
Oh, Sookie. Love her. All right. Anyway, they go on this walk. It's real cute. She asks if he kills people. He's like, yep. He's got, he's very like straightforward and very honest about what he is and what he's done and what his past is. And I really appreciate that. And they just have like a really nice conversation about being a vampire.
You happy now?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, yes. And then after a while, he goes, you feel good to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Yeah.
And she's like, how so? And he says, no fear, no hurry, no condemnation. I don't have to use my glamour to make you hold still, to have a conversation with you. And then they realize that the glamour actually doesn't work on her at all.
Right. It's like a vampire hypnotism where vampires can make you hypnotized.
This is another really great moment in the show because he tries to do it at her and she like just bursts into laughter because he's so ridiculous, being like, do you feel my influence
on you, Sookie? I think that happens in the book too, does it not?
Yeah, but she doesn't giggle. She's just like, no, I don't feel anything.
Oh, I thought she giggled.
Just like swing and a miss, Charlaine Harris. Come on. It's fine. Okay. Oh, and then we find out Bill can levitate. I forgot about this.
Yeah, he can fly all around. So he levitates for her. It's just very sweet. And then, you guys, he asks her to take her banana clip out. And, they hold hands first. Then he asks her to take that banana. Bill's really into hair, which does kind of weird me out a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. Always has. There are certain things about Bill that have always weirded me out. One of them is like how much he loves brushing her hair. I've never understood it and I don't like it and it creeps me out.
Okay.
But anyway, he wants her to take that clip out and shake her hair out and she does.
Yeah, it is sort of a paternalistic move.
I just find it very creepy. She says something about his sideburns, and then we learn in book world that whatever hairstyle you died with is like the hairstyle you're stuck with forever.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Which, listen, if Show Eric had never cut his hair, I would not have been about it. Zero.
Really?
Zero. Oh yeah.
Ugh. I will.
Whatever episode it is when they go to
Skarsgård.
Fantasia and he's like sitting up on that throne, I was like, gross. Book Eric was gross. Show Eric is gross.
No.
And then, like, season 2 or whatever, when Pam gets out those clippers, I was like, damn! I'm ready for Amnesia book! When is that happening? Anyway.
Oh, they fucked that. You know what? I will say, I feel like the show fucked that up for me. I was really not into it.
What did? Amnesia Eric?
Yes.
Go fuck yourself.
Listen, Amnesia Eric was wonderful.
You shut
However,
your mouth.
All the you shut your whore mouth.
Yeah, what the fuck is this?
No, but they
get off my podcast.
I didn't.
Somebody call somebody else. Somebody call a real romance fan.
Listen, I never got to see hot, dangerous Eric. I never got to see the Eric that I fell in love with. I got to see this other version of Eric where like they had those weird fever dreams and all of a sudden her bed was like in a meadow that was snowing and I was just like,
in the meadow.
Stop it.
He was hot and dangerous through like most of the show. How dare you?
Not when they were together. The thing she liked about him was that he was no longer Eric. Did he once truss her up by her wrists and fuck her real hard while she was hanging up there? No! I never got to see that happen from my perspective character. Thank you very much. That's like the hallmark of Eric Northman. He was just like, little mister, oh, Sookie, was I bad today? Okay, I'll love you real good. Like,
I think that you just liked that particular scene and you're upset by it.
Listen, it was quite a few scenes. Anytime you saw Eric fucking another lady,
but he was definitely super. Yeah, but he fucked a lot of ladies in the show in like a real aggressive way in that dungeon area.
That's right. Oh yeah, he did. But not my perspective character, and not with any sort of feeling involved, and not like, I'm just saying.
Remember like 30 minutes ago when you told me that I wasn't watching the time?
Sorry.
Anyways,
all right.
Here we are.
Back to the book.
Bill and Sookie are about to make out for the first time, and you're ruining it. So she takes out the clip. She shakes out her hair. All right.
And he runs his hand like through her hair and he like shakes it out from the roots.
Weird. I don't like it.
It is weird. It's a weird move, but it works for her.
So she decides she wants to kiss Bill the vampire. And she gets up on her toes and she kisses his cheek. And then he turns and he makes it a lips kiss, which is very sweet. I will read it to you.
Sure.
He turned his head so his lips touched mine. After a moment, I reached to circle his neck with my arms. His kiss deepened and I parted my lips. I'd never been kissed like this. It went on until I thought the whole world was involved in this kiss and this vampire's mouth on mine. I could feel my breathing speeding up and I began to want other things to happen. Suddenly, Bill pulled back. He looked shaken, which pleased me to no end. "Good night, Sookie."
Good night, Sookie.
Stroking my hair one last time. "Good night, Bill," I said. And then he leaves, and their little date is over. It was very sweet.
It's over, you guys. Super sweet.
So then the next day, we get dead Dawn.
Dawn's dead, you guys.
Sam calls Sookie and is like, Dawn didn't come in. You have to, like, no. She doesn't find Dawn yet. She just does her shift because Dawn's not in. What does happen is she goes over to Bill. Bill complained to her about how he can't get any electricians out to his house. He doesn't understand electricity that good. Listen, part of this is a little weird because he's like, I'm not used to these short dresses. And like, I don't understand electricity. Like, he wasn't in a fucking coma. He's not Derek, whatever his name is. Is that right? Is that his name?
Yeah,
Derek
Novak? Whoever his name is.
Derek Novak? Is that the name of that vampire? Yes.
I believe so.
It's not like that. He's been around. He fucked Diane in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's been through all of the eras. Of anybody should know the progression of fashion. Because he was literally there.
Yeah. He's wearing a golf shirt and Dockers, so he knows it's 2001. He went to Dillards. I don't understand that. But anyway, it's fine.
So he's like, I can do carpentry pretty good, but I can't do electricity and stuff, and so I need workers. And so she promises to get him numbers and then bring them to the house.
Okay.
So after we watch her whole shift, then we go over to Bill's house.
Do you want to know some things that happened during her shift?
Oh my God. It's everything.
It's okay.
Literally everything.
It's fine. It's like she had this day off and she had like a whole plan. She was going to lay out. She's going to do all this stuff. She's going to work because Dawn didn't come in because spoiler alert, she's dead, you guys.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay.
So she shows up to his house and she's like, knock, knock, knock. I have your things for you.
Right.
And this lady answers the door. There's a car outside with bumper stickers that include "Vampires suck," "Honk if you're a blood donor," and the vanity plate read simply "Fangs won."
Right. So long story short to this situation, I think we can do this quick.
Yeah.
Is we've got 3 vampires. They're over at Bill's house.
And they're dangerous.
They're danger vampires. They live in a nest and they're mean. And Sookie comes in and they're like, "Ooh, you look delicious." And then she goes in there. There's these 3 vampires. Bill's there, but he's kind of like off to the side. These 3 vampires have 2 humans that are like slutty and like all bit up.
Yeah.
And it's like clearly it's a hostile situation.
Right.
So one of the vampires goes to bite Sookie. And then Bill, who hasn't, like, ding on Bill for this one. Like, I love Bill Compton, but still. He doesn't say shit until, like, one of these vampires is, like, fangs out, like, nearly in her neck. And then he's like, what does he say?
Sookie is mine.
Sookie is mine. And then they're like, oh, okay, cool. Because vampires have this, like, understanding that if you've claimed a human, no one else is going to bite that human.
Yeah.
So, eventually, one of the vampires is like making fun of him because clearly she doesn't have any bite marks. Clearly he hasn't eaten in a while. So she's not putting out. So they're making fun of him for that. And then they're like, hey, why don't you try some of Jerry
over here? Jerry. I said Ramon. I don't know why.
Who's like a cute little twink that this guy has been carting around with him. And then Bill goes to like suck Jerry's blood in front of Sookie, which I was like, Bill.
His fangs come out. He's like shaking.
Also, may I say, Sookie is so grossed out by this whole situation. Like, one of the sluts starts going down on one of these other guys, like in front of her, and like Jerry's like grabbing.
Just, like, a really friendly HJ, you know?
Oh, I thought there was a BJ. There was definitely like a crotch grab that freaked her out. And then like, what? I really feel like one got on their knees and was like starting to do a BJ. But anyway, she is like,
an HJ.
This is nasty. She is very uncomfortable with this nasty stuff.
Some things are private.
Yeah. I love it. She's like, anyone can do what they want to do in their own homes, but I do not want to see it like this. Anyway, so Bill is about to bite on this man, and then she reads Jerry's thoughts and finds out that he's got, like, listen, there's this whole backstory. He's like basically revenge fucking vampires. Yeah. he's got this like vampire AIDS or something, and if Bill sucks his blood, he's going to be like wounded by it. And so she's like, no, he's got Xeno AIDS. And then they like leave and murder up Jerry later.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, I'm going to take this human with us. We've got some questions for him. And she thinks to herself, they're going to murder him right up, but I can't do anything about it. Bye.
Bye.
And then Bill tries to get up on her.
Yeah.
And she's like, no,
Fuck
do
you,
not
Bill.
touch me after that. I can't bear it.
Yeah, I think that
good for her.
Sookie, I know, Sookie knows what's up.
That's right.
Listen, sometimes Sookie gets straight up raped by Bill. Not in this book, but in other books. And she is very like, I'm pretty sure that was a rape. She's very like, I don't know. But what I like about it is she's kind of like you when you read a book and you're like analyzing your own thoughts about the thing that happened. Because there's like one particular one I remember where she's like, gosh, like that was very like not good, but I kind of liked it, but also like I didn't consent to it. And like, you know, there was like she has these very complicated thoughts about a lot of her relationships, which I really appreciate. Yeah. But she does not mince words, and she does not hang out with Bill that night.
No, she's over it.
Yeah, she's done.
So the phone's ringing. It's Sam. He wants her to go over to Dawn's house and check on her because she didn't come in for work today either. Mm-hmm. So Sookie's like, okay, fucking fine. Like, I'll go.
So he would never say something like that. She doesn't have a potty mouth like that.
She doesn't have that nasty mouth.
No.
Like no. Never would she ever. So she tells her Gran and she goes over to Dawn's house. And she pokes around a bit, looks in her back windows when she doesn't get an answer. And Dawn is splayed up on her bed. She's
her tongue is protruding from her mouth.
Her eyes are bugged out. Her tongue is protruding. She's like different colors of blue and purple. It's not good.
She's got flies crawling
over her mouth.
Listen. Ugh. So Sookie calls the police, and then guess who's there is Renee. He's like, what's going on? You need some help? Yeah.
Fucking
Renee. So the cops show up. You want to take this racist stuff, or do you want me to figure out how to just walk this line?
The cops show up. Yeah. You know what? I want you to do it.
Okay.
That's what I want you to do. I want to see how you do it.
Well, she is kind of dipping into the thoughts of all the different people there.
So the two cops show up. Kenya is this 5'11", built like really, really, really strong. Her name is Kenya.
Right.
And then the other deputy is named Kevin. Mm-hmm. And he's like scrawny and white and whatever.
Oh,
and like
I think
it
Belfour was there, was he not?
He gets there later.
Oh, okay.
So
so she dips into the mind of Kenya. Yeah. And Kenya is thinking about how she shouldn't have eaten 3 donuts this morning because this is a real gross and stinky crime scene. And now that she's had 3 donuts, she's worried that she's going to blow chunks. And like, she doesn't want to do that because it would make her like, already she's perceived as a weak cop because she's a black female. And now she's worried she's going to vomit at a crime scene. And that's going to really be the end of her whole reputation. Which,
and she doesn't want to be shamed.
Yeah.
That
felt
makes
like
a lot of sense to me.
Good perspective from Kenya's mind.
And her whole thing is she needs to keep this investigation as textbook perfect.
Yes.
And like that's her whole thing. And then it switches to
have I told you that story about throwing up at a crime scene before?
No.
I can't tell it here, but I will tell you later.
Okay. So then Kevin starts thinking that he and Kenya better not botch any evidence.
Right. He's worried that the murderer is, I think, quote, a black. Is that correct?
No, not this time.
That's later. Okay.
And he was hoping it wasn't a black man because that would make his relationship with Kenya even more tense.
Yes.
Although they do get along. It does say before. That, it says before that I think they were put together as kind of a joke.
I think it's fine. I think that's a weird, uncomfortable thing that guy might think.
Yes,
I'm not worried about it.
I didn't mind that either.
Oh, okay. Where
I didn't mind it.
Is it Andy? Who thinks the thoughts where somebody says a black? Like I definitely remember it, and it definitely made me
happens
squeamy.
later.
Oh, okay.
That's
I thought
in the
that
restaurant. No, it's not here.
Oh, is that when Diane and them come into the restaurant?
No, it's when Terry and Lafayette are talking about the murder.
Okay.
And other things.
Okay. All right. So I found that to be fine. I don't know. And then Sam comes over and holds her hand. And one thing that's really interesting is when Sam comes up to the trail, like they're all just kind of hanging out outside Dawn's place. And when he comes up, Sookie tries to read his mind again. And she gets shut out. Like Akomath, Akko War style. Like there's a wall that goes around Sam's mind, which indicates to her that Sam knows when she's reading his mind, which is different from regular people. And also that he can shut her out, which is also different than other people.
Right.
So Sam's something.
Then Andy Belfour gets there. They're just doing investigation stuff. Andy gets the impression that she can read minds. They don't know each other very well.
Oh,
this is one of those times where I got a little because let me find it. So I was okay with this for the most part, but it was just like a little jarring because he's like, I need you to come down to the station later. There's going to be a couple of hours here, but I need you to come down to the station later. Can you do that? And she's like, well, I have a shift later, and I especially have a shift because my only other worker is like dead right now. So there's like this bar that I work at. And he goes, Miss Stackhouse, this really takes precedence over working at a bar. And it says, okay, I was pissed off. Not because he thought a murder investigation was more important than getting to work on time. I agreed with him there. It was his unspoken prejudice against my particular job. You may not think my job amounts to much, but it's one I'm good at, and I like it. I'm as worthy of respect as your sister, the lawyer, Andy Belfour, and don't you forget it. I'm not stupid, and I'm not a slut. And I didn't know where the I'm not a slut came from.
I know. She just likes people to know. I don't know.
Is it because he was asking if she and Sam
I think it's because
a relationship?
No, I think it's because when he was interviewing her at the scene, he was thinking nasty thoughts about her because he knew that she was a telepath. When he's like deliberately doing those things to like fuck her up?
No, that doesn't happen yet because it says the detective turned red slowly and unattractively. I apologize, Andy said stiffly. He was trying to deny the old connection. The shared high school, the knowledge of each other's family. He was thinking he should have been a detective in another town where he could treat people the way he thought a police officer should. No, you'll be a better detective here if you can get over that attitude, I told him. His gray eyes flared wide in shock, and I was childishly glad that I rocked him. And then from there, she gets upset with herself about showing him her quote unquote disability because that's when he starts thinking nasty things to get a rise out of her. So this whole I'm not a slut thing just came out of absolute left field in my brain.
Because Erin. Because he was asking about Bill and like Sam and like Dawn.
Yep.
And
anyway, so she fucks off and we watch her shift. She tells everybody that Dawn is dead. Oh, people start casting suspicion at Bill. And she's like, no, there's a lot of vampires, Bill or Sam. Like, it's probably not him.
Oh, and you know what I loved? Is this moment that I missed the first few times I've read this. Sam says to her, like, hey, listen, Bill's nice enough, but like, he's not a human and you need to remember that. And then she goes, neither are you, honey. And like walks away. And I never noticed that before. And I was like, good for you, Sookie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was really great.
So she sees Bill later. He comes to her house, I think.
He's like standing in her driveway as she's driving home. She stops her car and gets out.
She tells him about Dawn. And this is where he's like, they get a fight because she doesn't want to see him again. And she told him she didn't want to see him that night, whatever night that was after the 3 mean vampires. But this is where he's like, listen, a vampire didn't kill these girls because they weren't drained of their blood. You're not going to leave like a juicy dead body just full of blood.
Obviously. I even know that.
So this is where she asks him to take her to Shreveport.
Yes.
To the bar, but not as a date. But she wants to go to the vampire bar so that she can show around pictures of Maudette and Dawn and be like, which vampires did these two hang out with, and like try to get a feel. She's trying to displace blame from Bill and like possibly her brother who had sex with both of them, and like on to somebody else and find the real killer.
She also asked him about the whole Sookie is mine.
Sookie is mine. Like, he's like, she gets offended by that, but like, it's very clear that he was just saying it to like, yeah, I would not be offended by that.
No, I would be like, thank you so much.
Thanks, hot vampire, and your dockers and your loafers.
Oh God. So then he's like, all right, I'll take you. And then as he's walking away,
oh my God, it's so sexy hot.
Sookie, do me proud.
What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? It's so hot and sexy. It's so good.
So hot and sexy.
So she takes it to mean wear a good outfit.
Guys. Back at the bar. That's what we are. Everybody's there because they want to know about the dead girls in town. Everybody's there.
So listen, she leaves. She goes home. She puts on her like hottest date outfit, which is a white sundress with red daisies on it.
Yeah, it's like red flowers with green stems splashed all over it. It says she's got her hair down loose because she knows now that Bill likes that.
Yeah. Then she goes back to the bar to pick up her check and just like flaunt it all around. And Lafayette and Sam and everybody's like, you're looking good. And then she goes and gets with Bill.
So then her gran is like, wouldn't you like to wear a nice sweater over that? Don't you want to cover yourself up?
Aren't you going to be cold in July in Louisiana? Don't you think?
But then when she comes back in, Bill is sitting with her grandmother because he's already there. And he like looks not pleased. He like curls his hands into fists and his mouth goes into a weird line. And so she goes, is this all right? And he goes, yes, he said finally. But his pause had been long enough to anger my grandmother. The grandmother's like, anyone with a brain in his head.
Anyone around here knows Sookie's one of the prettiest girls around here.
That's right.
How dare you, Bill?
Oh. It's so good.
So she apologizes for her dress when she gets into the car, and then he finally is like, I just am really worried about taking you to this vampire bar and like somebody like grabbing you and like basically like getting in danger because like you look so good.
I have to read you say it like it's normal. I have to read
it's what so normal. It's happens. No, it's normal. Stop it. It's normal.
It's not.
Stop it.
Here's what happens, you guys.
Someday we're going to read one of your favorite books and we're going to talk about how it's not normal.
She goes, you looked at me as though I'd done something wrong. I snapped. I'm just doubting my ability to get you in and out without having to kill someone who wants you. You're being sarcastic. I wouldn't look. His hand gripped the back of my neck, forced me to turn to him. Do I look like I am? He asked. His dark eyes were wide and unblinking. No, I admitted. Then accept what I say.
I swear to God, everything about this scene is everything I hate in romance novels. It's like intense jealousy, murder for no reason, like for like somebody else kind of liking you, gripping the back of somebody. I hate it when somebody takes someone's chin and forces them to look at them. That is like my least favorite thing. But at the same time,
you want to know what's 2 sentences later?
Oh, when he listens to Kenny G.
He was partial to Kenny G. Erin.
I just love Bill Compton.
I
don't know. Love him. Let's do the whole series.
Let's just
do all 17 or whatever.
Oh, God.
Let's just do it.
Green and brown golf shirt and Kenny G. Our hero, everyone.
He fucks her real good. I guess because she sees gold and white streaks when it happens. That has been stuck in my mind since 2009. I've thought about that and been like, am I doing orgasms wrong? Are you supposed to see gold streaks across the sky? Oh, man. Okay. We're an hour and 30 minutes in. Do you want to stop?
We haven't even got to the sex, Erin.
I know, but we spent like 30 minutes talking about background stuff. We'll get there.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. Let's stop before we get to Fangtasia. We'll pick it up at Fangtasia.
Because really, that's when the real sexy stuff starts. I mean, we got to a smooch. There's other books where all we do is get to a smooch.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Listen, to be continued next week. Fangtasia, sex, racism, apparently, that wasn't in that other scene.
Indoor, elevated, deck-surrounded hot tubs.
Yeah.
With potted plants around it.
Yeah.
Indoor.
Yeah.
You're saying this like it's a normal thing.
Yeah. He built the bathroom because he didn't have a use for the pantry.
I can't.
He's got to keep his warm frescas somewhere. But it's not the pantry.
Mm-mm. All right.
He loves bathing. He's a vampire. He likes being in hot water.
As another bather, I was into it. I just did not understand walking into an indoor bathroom.
What is your problem with this big bathtub?
No.
That's where he likes to take his meals.
No, wait. Walking up cedar steps, surrounded by jungly potted plants, to then get into a portable hot tub.
Portable.
It's a portable.
No, that's not what he does. Literally, it's not like an inflatable.
I'm gonna Google it. No, I'm gonna
I know
Kindle,
that he says
Google
portable, but that's not what he. That's not like that's
portable.
It doesn't mean like inflatable or whatever.
Surrounded by a cedar deck inside a bathroom with a shower.
I believe she describes it as opulent. Okay.
She can describe that any way she wants. I think she also described all of Eric's mesh tube tops as sexy. So, like,
someday I'm gonna shit all over something you love.
I love this too.
And also, like, let's pretend like I haven't done that like 10 times.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I loved book. And I was like, fuck this book. This book sucks.
Yes, remember the time that I told you to shut the fuck up and shut your mouth when you were talking to me or something? I don't know.
I do remember that.
I think it was from the Christmas episode. It was good. Yes,
I do remember that vaguely. I remember you bird chirping me when I was bird chirping you. It was something. I remember that.
Okay. All right, you guys. Erin, tell me about your lady love. Tell it to me.
I watched so many things while my eyes were gone. I couldn't muster up the ability to, like, my eyes were really blurry for like 2 weeks. So I watched a lot of things on the television.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I watched that was a delight? A delight. Ooh. A delight. The Overboard remake. I don't know why that didn't succeed at all. There was an Anna Faris remake of Overboard.
I thought that was,
It was a delight. A delight. And if you love Latin pop, it is even more of a delight.
Ooh.
Latin pop throughout. It's just a great little snippy snappy movie. Great.
Nice.
Yeah. Watched it.
Excellent.
It's good. Oh, also Drop Dead Gorgeous is on Hulu now. As of yesterday. So.
Yes, please.
Put on your tap shoes.
Yep. You want to know something else that's on Hulu?
Yes.
That is my lady love.
What?
That is all 3 seasons of Veronica Mars.
Mm.
I did not watch Veronica Mars when it was first out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could definitely qualify as your faves are problematic because a lot of the things and a lot of the storylines and a lot of the characters do not hold up to the test of time. There's a lot of racial put downs. There's a lot of just real casual roofing, very boys will be boys sort of attitude in a lot of ways. But good goddamn, I have immersed myself into this show in a probably unhealthy way. It is so fun. Kristen Bell is she just continues to be maybe peak goals for me. She's so great. And yeah, the 4th season Like everybody got together and they were like, what the fuck? This shouldn't have been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th season's coming out later this month in July. And so Hulu put on all 3 of the first seasons. And it is wonderful.
I never watched Veronica Mars before, so I don't know if I'll get into it again. We'll see.
Man,
maybe I will. If you were like,
good.
It's just one of those things that everyone tells you to watch, and so you're just like, ugh. It's like Gilmore Girls.
Was me for a lot of years.
I can't do it. It's like I'm not going to do it. I'm never going to watch Gilmore Girls, guys. I'm sorry, HBs. It's not going to happen.
I did watch Gilmore Girls, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
Like later, I told myself that I didn't like it because it had soap opera sound. Does that make sense? It had like you could hear everybody's clicking shoes when they walked places, and it reminds me of like low budget TV.
I love it. You know what I don't like? You know what I don't like is when dialogue is fast, so it's smart. You know what I mean? Like no one's saying anything smart, but because they say it fast, you're supposed to think that it's smart. And I think that that's all of Gilmore Girls from everything I've seen of it.
Yeah, that's pretty. At the very least, it's fast, so you think it's clever. At the very least,
yeah, and it's not always clever. And what I've seen of Gilmore Girls has been like that. Don't at me. Don't chomp me. Don't. I haven't watched it. I'm not passing judgment, but it seems like it's like that. It's a feeling I like to call Sorkin-esque.
Yes, I was going to say, you would hate everything Aaron Sorkin has written.
I have a very love-hate relationship with it. Man, you know how I feel about Amy Gardner.
I full on just love that cokehead. Oh, man. I love me some Aaron Sorkin.
It's hard to be a woman and love Aaron Sorkin, but we're pulling it off.
And yet I do it.
Yeah.
I do.
But a lot of his dialogue is both fast and smart. Some of it's not.
Well, exactly.
But a lot of it's both. Yeah. And I love Amy Gardner so much.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah. I fight cold with cold.
Yeah, Veronica Mars, she has this adorable relationship with her dad. It's like one of the sweetest, purest things I've ever seen on television. It's just wonderful. Plus, there's this really damaged rich boy who is so problematic, but I just want to fix him with my
I love
vagina.
A damaged rich boy.
I just want to fix him. I want to fix him via orgasms. That's what I would like to do. Which is hilarious because they don't actually have much chemistry on screen, in my opinion. He and Kristen Bell don't have a lot of like crazy chemistry, and yet I just want to take that puka shelled boy and make him better with my pussy.
I understand that. I understand it. Oh, man.
So anyway.
All right.
Yeah, but on a super serious note, you guys, take care of yourselves. I'm not doing really great at that lately, so I need you to do it for
you look
yourself.
Like you're wearing a hair mask.
For me.
Are you wearing a hair mask?
Would you call
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Actually, I don't think it was that long. I think it's only been like 2 or 3 days. I've just been doing a lot of this because a lot of things have been frustrated.
She's running her fingers through her hair. Yep.
Running my fingers through my matted ponytail, my very slicked back, messy bun.
It's very shiny.
So, isn't it though? Yeah, it looks like I have a mayonnaise mask in, you guys. I don't.
I'm sorry. Anyway, you were saying take care of yourselves.
Yeah, you guys, take care of yourselves. Just try to make healthy choices. Do what you need to do. And be kind to yourself for me.
Yes.
That's what I need from you to do that.
Be kind to Melody. Are you talking to me? I'm sorry I didn't text you back. I didn't know you were depressed. You just insulted my book.
Listen, it's fine. I knew we'd get through it. Okay. All right, Erin.
All right. Okay.
I love
you can find us.
Tons. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. Here it goes. Twitter @heaving_bosoms. Instagram @heavingbosoms. Facebook // I never remember which way the slashes go, but it's Heaving Bosoms Podcast. The group is Heaving Bosoms Podcast Geriatric Friendship Cult. We had the cult before other podcasts had a cult. What is that? All of them? No. Merch is on Redbubble, Heaving Bosoms Podcast, and the Patreon you can access at Patreon, Heaving Bosoms Podcast, or through our website via bonus content. We're doing a fundraiser for Yellow Hammer Fund.
Yeah, we are.
And right now we've got some bonus Patreon content about a psycho stripper. We're about to have an episode with Melody's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's got to be it. That's got to be all the places.
Yeah, so keep being a badass.
I'm sorry, this isn't from the episode, but like, love yourself as much as you love fixing that rich, damaged boy with your pussy. I think it's like the quote of the episode. I'm sorry.
I'll take it. That's
All
fine. All right, cool. Love yourself that much, because woohoo!
All right.
I love you, Erin, so much. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.